friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm sitting down and I'm gonna do a ranking style video. These have been pretty popular, I feel like, recently on YouTube. The main people that I have been watching ranking their different makeup items, different hauls, that kind of stuff are Samantha March and Kelly Gooch. I actually really love watching those videos. I think it's so fun to just see where people would rank things. I have done one ranking style video in the past and it was all of the palettes that I tried in 2020. I can link that in the eye and down below for you if you want to check it out. It's an older video. But today we are ranking all of my Natasha Denona palettes. I've got 9 of them. I've got 9 and we're ranking them. We're ranking them from worst all the way to best. Before we get started, don't forget to upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday for you guys, and recently a lot more than that. If you like this video while you're watching it, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. It really does help me out. And other than that, if you're excited and you want to hear how I rank my 9 Natasha Denona palettes, then let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm basing my rankings off a couple of different things. The first thing is the performance of the palette, like how it actually performs and looks on my eyes. And then also, if I'm reaching for it, if it's a palette I use a lot, that kind of stuff. I have a mix of minis and middies. I don't have any of her like full blown like $125 palettes. I got none of those. But the first one I want to start off with is my mini Glam palette. This is number 9, last place. And really, honestly, it's because I just don't reach for it very often. I really don't. I do not think I would have purchased this if the midi Glam palette had came out first. But this one came out first. It's a very neutral toned eyeshadow palette. Like, there are 2 like pretty simple crease shades, a light brown and a dark brown, so you can put this in the crease, deepen out your outer edge, and then you have a couple of different shimmers to choose from. The shimmers are really pretty. It's not that I dislike this palette or like it doesn't perform well. I just really never reach for it. And if I want these tones in an eye look, first of all, I don't really go for these tones too often just because they are very simple, plain eyeshadow looks. And normally a lot of the times I like color. So I'm not really like reaching for these tones too often. And when I do, I have other eyeshadow palettes that have these type of tones that I want to reach for more. Specifically, the ones that come in my mind are the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette and then the ColourPop That's Taupe palette. The quality's fine. The shimmers are really pretty, the 3 that are in here. And the mattes are nice too. They're not like, you know, patchy or anything that I remember using. I haven't reached for this in a while, but I don't know, for some reason I just never think like, let me use my mini Glam palette and make a look. I just never reach for this guy, sadly. All right, coming up next, number 8, we have the mini Lila palette. So I ended up picking up this palette really solely because it was half off. So I got this palette for $12.50. They are normally $25 for mini palettes, and I got this half off. I like this palette, I do. The couple of times I've reached for it, I genuinely like the looks that I make, but it's another one that I just really don't reach for very often. I'll say this brown shade right here is a beautiful, like perfect neutral brown crease shade. I love this shade. And then this gold is another like beautiful shade. So those 2 I love. Oh, that brown got really crumbly. Those 2 I really love. And I really like these pops of purple as well. Like, they are also really pretty. Those aren't the best swatches, but they're also really pretty shades. I will say this one I like never know what to do with. I don't know why. I think it's because it's more blue tone than purple. I think if it was way more purple, I would reach for this palette more and I would know more what to do with it, if that makes sense. But that like random pop of blue just kind of like confuses me. And I'm like, how can I combine all these colors together? You know what I mean? But the couple of times I have used this palette, I do really genuinely enjoy it. I like the looks I make. I just, again, never really think to reach for this one. I'm glad I got it half off. I'm glad it's in my collection. I am. And these 2 are just really special, honestly. These 2 shades are chef's kiss, like perfection. But yeah, I need to pull this out and use it more because I never do. Alrighty, number 7 is a very new palette to me. I just got it a couple weeks ago. I put up a couple of videos of it and I just don't love it. And it makes me so sad, but it is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. Okay, this palette, I have a first impressions video on it, and I also have a 1 week 1 palette on it where I make 5 different looks. So I have created 6 different looks on my YouTube channel with this. I will have both of those videos linked down below. I just don't love this palette. There's just something about the quality and the formula of it. It is not up to par to the other Natasha Denona palettes that I have. The cream to powder formulas, there's 4 in here. They are very difficult to use. I just really struggled. The mattes are really not her best matte formula. I love Natasha Denona mattes, but these ones just got really patchy on me and just didn't perform very well. And then the shimmers are so lackluster in this palette. It just doesn't make any sense to me why these shimmers are so much less poppy and punchy than all her other shimmers. I just don't understand this quality formula that she made with this palette. The shades are beautiful. Like, I like the shades of it, and I liked all 5 of the looks I made in the 1 week 1 palette, but I just didn't love it. This palette didn't wow me. I don't love it. I don't want to reach for it like ever. And yeah, I'm really bummed because it's brand new. It's like basically brand new. It's like a brand new palette that she just launched, and I bought it pretty much immediately, and I was so excited and pumped for it, but it just has sadly really disappointed me, and I don't know how much use I will actually get out of this palette, unfortunately. Coming in at number 6, we have another midi palette, and it is the Sunrise palette. So this was the first midi palette that Natasha Denona ever released. So I've had this in my collection for a little bit over a year. I think I got it in summer of 2020. I actually really do like this palette a lot. I do struggle a little tiny bit with these mattes getting a little bit patchy on me, specifically this Clove shade, this really deep dark like maroon shade. I struggle with it a little bit, this one too. So again, I feel like this isn't like up to quality, up to snuff of like Natasha Denona's usual typical eyeshadow formula, but it's not as bad as the Zendo palette. Like, I struggle way less with this palette than the Zendo palette. This is just one I just don't reach for very often. I really do love this palette, and I really love the shades of this. This eyeshadow right here named Carnelian is something so special. It's like a beautiful like orange yellow mustard shade that is just stunning. I love that shade, and when I use this palette, I typically love the looks that I make, and it's actually pretty versatile. Like, when you just look at it, it looks like, oh, okay, warm tones. All you can really do is make like yellow and maroon looks, but that's not really the case at all. There's like yellow and orange. There's some like corally shades. This Aster shade is like a really beautiful like pinky purple duochrome, and you can also use like these golds here too. So this actually is way more versatile of a palette than when you first like glance at it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I really do love this palette. I need to reach for it more often than I do, because when I use it, I like it. I just don't ever think to reach for it. I have a pretty large eyeshadow palette collection back there, so this one kind of just gets like pushed to the wayside, but I need to pull out and use it more because it's a stunning palette. Coming in at number 5, we have the Mini Nude palette. So I'm pretty sure this was my first Natasha Denona palette I ever bought. Is that right? Maybe it was a Sunrise. I can't remember, but this was like one of the first ones, and this was one of the reasons why I got so into Natasha Denona and really genuinely love her eyeshadow formula was this little guy right here. I took this on our honeymoon 2 years ago in Jamaica and used it every single solitary day. I really do love this palette. This is like a great crease shade. This is a nice shade to deepen up with. And then I don't really use this shimmer very often, but these two are absolutely stunning and amazing. If you can tell, I have a very large dip in this one, and these are just such beautiful shimmers. This is the shimmer formula that I am used to from Natasha Denona. Like, when I put these on my eyes, they are so impactful and just bright and shiny and beautiful on the eyes. And this one, it's another one I don't really reach for too often, because again, when I am going to use these type of tones, I just don't think to reach for this. But this palette, man, it is so good. If you just need a basic in a good way, I don't mean that in a bad way, but just like a basic everyday eyeshadow that you can use for work or anything, just throw these 2 shades in the crease. You can deepen it if you want, these 2 shimmers. And this one's beautiful too. I just don't really reach for it very often, but it's a really pretty shade as well. But yeah, this palette, I don't know. I feel like it holds a special place in my heart because it was one of my first ones. I took it on my honeymoon, and I don't know. I remember making so many looks with this, and I've used this so many times. It just, I don't know. It holds a special place in my heart. I love this palette. Number 4, we have the Mini Gold palette. This mini palette, I am a sucker for green eyeshadow. I love green eyeshadow, and this palette gives it to me. Every single time I use this palette, I love my look. The only one I don't really use very much is this like really deep dark shade here, but all the other shades are just stunning. I will say I can't get a ton of different looks out of this little guy. I mean, the tones are pretty similar in all of the shades, and a lot of the looks I make tend to be very similar, but I don't even care because the looks I make are so pretty that I don't mind if they're similar. I usually just tend to use this in the crease. I'll use this either in the crease or all over the lid. I can put this beautiful green or this beautiful gold shade. Both of these are just so stunning on the lid. You can use just one or the other or mix them together. Man, this palette, I feel like I make like some of my favorite looks whenever I use it. I just feel so beautiful every time I use it. And again, green eyeshadow, just something about it on like my fair skin and with my eyes and my dark hair. I just think it is very flattering on me. If you're looking for a new little green eyeshadow palette that's gonna add a little bit of pop of color into your eyeshadow palette collection, I highly, highly recommend this one. Number 3, we're back to another midi palette, and it's actually the palette that I have on my eyes today. You could probably maybe guess by looking at this eye look, but it is the Natasha Denona Love palette. Ooh, I love the Love palette. It is so stinking pretty. Along with green eyeshadow, there's just something about pink eyeshadow that just does something to me. I just love pink eyeshadow. Again, I think it's because it looks good on my fair skin and with my dark hair, and also I feel like pink eyeshadow and like those type of tones make my eyes pop, which I am never mad about. But this is really good. I wanted this palette for a really, really long time. It's an older palette, and I actually just recently got this about a month or 2 ago. I got it on sale on Beautylish, and I wanted this palette when it first launched, and then I didn't, and then I heard like mixed reviews about it, and then I heard like some great reviews and then some not so. Like I went back and forth for literally over a year, and I finally picked it up, and thank goodness I did. I'm glad I waited because again, I got it on sale. I got 30% off. 30% off. Like, that's amazing. So I'm glad I waited and didn't just like hastily buy it, if that makes any sense. But these shades, oh my goodness, they are beautiful. Let me do some swatches for you. I'm going to swatch this Lifetime shade, this Transparent, this Giving, and then Pure Love. Oh my goodness. All of these, again, this is the shimmer formula that I am used to from Natasha Denona. That is just super intense and beautiful on the eyelids. The mattes are good too. Some of them get a little bit patchy on me, but I don't mind that. I just keep blending and blending until it, isn't patchy anymore, like anyone does when eyeshadow gets patchy on them. But there's just something about this palette. I will say I haven't really reached into these two shades very much. This deep dark Commitment shade I haven't used very often, but these two like purples over here, this silver is stunning. Like this palette, I am so glad that I finally picked it up, and it is one of my favorites. It's colorful and it's definitely like bright and pretty, and you will get like bright, pretty, like bold eye looks with it. So if you're a neutral lover, I would probably stray away from this because even the light like pink shades do tend to get pretty intense on your eyes. Like I use these 3 on my eyes today, and if you can tell, like it's a pretty bright, bold pink look. And then the shimmer all over my lid is this Transparent shade. But every time I use this look, I have not been disappointed one time by this palette. And I've used it probably like 6 or 7 times by now. And like I said, I've never once been disappointed. It's so stinking good. Okay, so if you are not new here and you know me and you know my eyeshadow palette collection, you probably know that there are 2 palettes that are left. And I went back and forth trying to decide which one I was gonna put as my number 2 and which one I was gonna put as my number 1. And I think I decided. But just know I'm obsessed with both of these palettes, and I literally would not want either one of them out of my collection. So just throwing that out there. But in number 2, I went ahead and gave it to the Natasha Denona Glam palette. This palette, man, there's something so special about this palette, and I can't even like pinpoint it because you look at it and it's just neutral shades. Like it's like, okay, I'm like, cool. It's cool tone. There's a couple warm tones. There's nothing like colorful about it. And you're right. But there's still something special about it. I cannot get over my love for this palette. It is just beautiful. The shimmers, again, are beautiful. Like, beautiful, beautiful. Let me do a couple swatches for you. Like, all of them are honestly pretty similar, and when you put them on your eyes, you get, I'm trying to like show you the sparkle of this, and I can't. And when you put them on your eyes, you don't really get like that many different looks with this palette. Like this isn't going to be a palette that you can do like 15 different colorful looks, obviously, because it's very neutral shades. but you can get a little versatility out of it. You can stick more with like these gray tones. You can go over here in the warm tones. There are a couple like peachy, pink, not peachy, pink shades. There's golds, there's silvers. Like you can go very cool tone, very warm tone. I know I've talked about this palette like a million times on my channel. You guys are probably like, Emily, we've heard you say all these things. We know you love this palette, but like if you're new here, this is so stinking good. I did a video where I talked about the 10 makeup items that I would repurchase if for some reason all of my makeup disappeared. I can link that in the eye down below for you if you missed it. And this was the eyeshadow palette that I decided that I would repurchase like right away. I like need this in my collection. And actually I used it that day to fill in my eyebrows too. So it is versatile that you can use it on different parts of your face. But yeah, there's just something about this that I love so much. And that leaves number one, my favorite Natasha Denona palette that I own, the best one in my collection that I just love with my whole entire heart, and that is the Mini Retro palette. The Mini Retro palette. This little guy right here is stunning, perfect, beautiful, lovely. All of the good adjectives that describe beautiful things this palette has. I love it so much. I'm swatching all 5 of these shades for you because all 5 of them are stunning and you need to see all of them. So here's all 5 of them swatched for you guys. I'm sorry, they're not very good swatches, but these 2 matte shades are just stunning and beautiful. Like they don't get patchy at all. They look so beautiful in the eyes. And then these 2 shimmers are ones that like are very intense and opaque, if that makes sense. Like here's that one and then here's this one. But this shade right here is almost like a topper shade. It kind of reminds me of Diamond from the ColourPop So Jaded palette. And if you can tell, there's not a lot of pigmentation to it. But when you tap this on your eye, doesn't matter what other 4 shades you use of this palette, this will just transform the eye look and just make it so sparkly and shiny and beautiful on the eyelids. Like it's just something special. And this shade right here, there's something about it. Oh my gosh, it's like a greeny, silvery, dark, but beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it. It's very unique. I don't have any other shadow color in my collection with this. All 5 of these just pair together so well and just make such beautiful looks. It's another one that I've talked about a million times on my channel. You guys are like, you're a broken record, we know. But like, oh man, if you want to try Natasha Denona and you don't know what to get, I recommend either one of these palettes. Like honestly, either one are just stunning and beautiful. And I don't think that you would be disappointed with either one. And that was it, you guys. That was me ranking all of my Natasha Denona palettes from number 9 to number 1, from the worst to the best. I hope you enjoyed this video while you were watching it. I actually plan on doing this with a bunch of my other eyeshadow palettes as well. I plan on doing my ColourPop palettes and maybe like my drugstore palettes because I have quite a few different drugstore brands. So let me know down below if you want to see those videos as well. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. You're awesome and I love you. Please subscribe if you have not yet, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.